Good afternoon, it's story time. Our story is called I Was There 1066, The Norman Conquest. Chapter 7. 2 days after I'd watched Osric train at Bain Hall, messengers arrived from the king, summoning us all to rejoin him as he rode with his reinforced army south on the road to Hastings. Once more, my father and I said goodbye to my mother and sisters and baby Edgar. We gathered up our soldiers from amongst our workers, with Ulrich as their marshal, and set off. We met Osric and Lord Bain and his men at Sevenoaks crossroads and continued south to join the main body of King Harold's army. We were back to strength, thousands of men armed and ready for battle. As we journeyed south towards Hastings, we received reports that the Normans had built 2 large castles outside Hastings. The Duke and his royal court and the senior nobles stayed in them, whilst most of the soldiers camped outside. The attacks by the local English on the Normans had stopped because the English forces had withdrawn into the countryside and were waiting to join King Harold and our main army when we arrived. There had been no attempt by Duke William to move further north towards London or to spread further out from Hastings. William was obviously waiting for King Harold to come to him. Every day when we halted, Osric was put through training by his father. Sometimes I watched him going through his paces. Each time, Osric showed that he had the skill with weapons, but one look on his face and anyone could see his heart wasn't in it, and that worried me. A warrior who doesn't have the heart and desire to fight is more likely to die in a battle than one who does. It was on the 13th of October that we finally arrived at Cadlebick Hill, a ridge about 8 miles from Duke William's castle outside Hastings, where we made our camp. It was a high place in the distance I could see smoke rising from the fires in the Norman camp, and through the smoke I could make out the shape of the castle that had been built for Duke William. "Their army is huge," said a voice beside me. It was Osric. He had managed to slip away from the watchful eye of his father, Lord Bain. Like my father, was busy arranging our army for the battle that was to come. "It looks no bigger than our army," I said. "But they will be fresher than ours," said Osric. "Our men have marched 300 miles north, fought a fierce battle, and then marched 300 miles back. Many of them carry wounds. The Normans have had time to get themselves fit. But King Harold has chosen this place for our position. He is inviting the Normans to attack us. They will have to come up. They have to come to us uphill. We will have the advantage. Only if they launch an attack," said Osric. "Duke William may wait for us to attack him, and he has a castle to hide in." "A castle made of wood," I reminded him. "It will burn," forcing him out. "Edwin!" I turned and saw my father coming towards us. "The king is holding a council of war. He told us, as my squire, and now a warrior, you will join us." "I will be honored, father," I said. My father turned to Osric. "Your father is looking for you, Osric," he said. "I suggest you join us as well." "Yes, Lord Wolf," said Osric, making a small bow as he did so. Osric and I followed my father along the ridge to the king's tent. Other nobles were already clustering into the tent. I saw Lord Bain scanning the area around the tent, an anxious look on his face, which cleared as he saw Osric. He hailed for Osric to accompany him, and Osric gave me a sad and desperate smile and hurried to join his father. Inside the tent, Harold was talking earnestly to his 2 brothers, the Earls of Leofwine and Godwinson. But they stopped talking as my father and the other nobles began to fill out the tent. Proudly, I stood next to my father. Earlier today, I sent an embassy to Duke William, announced King Harold. Often before a battle, messengers would be sent under a flag of truce to the enemy with demands, either for surrender or terms for a peaceful settlement. Rarely was a battle prevented from happening. In some cases, the messengers were slaughtered and their bodies sent back as an added insult. I demanded that he and his armies remain in Normandy and have no further interest in England. He refused, and so the battle will take place. Do we know when, Your Majesty? Asked Lord Bang. It could be tomorrow, said King Harold. He knows we have just arrived here today, and I doubt he will want to give us time to firm up our defences. It would help if we knew their plan of battle, murmured another earl. Then we could make proper preparations. The Normans will be fresher than our men, and we'll need every advantage we can take if we are to beat them. As I heard these words, an outrageous thought struck me. I could speak French. I could get into the French camp and find out their plans. But to say such a thing in front of the king and these great warriors might be taken as an insult. A mere boy poking his nose into a warrior business? But the future of England was at stake. I took a deep breath. I could find out their plans, I said. Beside me, I felt my father tense. He looked down at me, his face grim and angry. It was one thing for me to be in attendance as a squire, but I could tell he thought I'd overstepped my situation by speaking. But now I told myself I was a warrior, and I had the right as a warrior and the son of the Lord to speak. The king looked at me. You? He said. A boy? It is because I am a boy that I will be able to move amongst the enemy easier than a grown man, Your Majesty. I said, and I speak their language. They will think I am one of them. Edwin was educated by monks, Your Majesty, put in by my father, including monks from Normandy. Now he saw that the king was not angry at my having spoken up, but intrigued. He felt able to add his voice to mine. I'm sure I can pass for a Norman, Your Majesty, I said, but I said it in French. The king's face broke into a grin. Well, well, he said, it seems we have a secret weapon. Then his face grew serious. But this will be a dangerous mission. If you're caught, they will not treat you kindly. I know the danger, Your Majesty, I said, but the bigger danger is not defeating the invader. King Harold turned to my father and nodded. I like your son, Lord Wolf, he said. He has courage and intelligence. If I had 100 more like him, we would drive this invader back into the sea tomorrow. That's the end of chapter 5. Have a good day. Stay safe. See you next time.